Well, we all know about CIMA. We've had exposure on the channel for it, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, and we're now discussing the 2014 CIMA Global Business Challenge. One of the winners we have in the studio with us is Lisa Marie Landman from the University of Pretoria and CIMA President Malcolm Furber. Malcolm, let's start with you and set the scene for why CIMA does this and the context for these awards.
Thank you. Well, it started about 6 years ago. What we're finding in the world at the moment is the fact that there's a disconnect between what is coming out of the educational system, the university, etc., and unemployment. There's a youth unemployment problem, and yet there's undergraduates or graduates who can't find jobs. And one of the things we find is, how do you create a wow factor in a dull and boring job like accountancy? And what we found is that, you know, CIMA is a bit different, and so we introduced this to actually get undergraduates familiar with the type of accountancy we do. The type of accountancy we do is we glance in the rearview mirror, we look through the windscreen, which is a bigger picture, anticipate the road, bend in the road ahead, and even more today is what's round the corner. So it's exciting. And what we do is we actually take one of our final case studies and we give it to undergraduates around the world. And this year, I'm not quite sure of the final numbers, but certainly last year it was 4,250 teams globally, excluding the US. And so this year must be, I say I haven't got the final numbers yet because the competitions haven't finished. So it must be about 5,000, and 400 teams, that's a huge audience. And it is global, and like I say, it creates that awareness of what we're all about, and hopefully bridging that skills gap that exists out there in the market at the moment.
Lisa Marie, so you're one of the members of the team from the University of Pretoria that actually won the competition. What is it that you guys did different that you think helped you put it in the bag?
Well, we followed a very integrated approach to the case study, and I think our teamwork really set us apart from the rest of the team.
Give us an idea of what you were asked to do with this problem that you were set.
Okay, it was based on a luxury boat industry, and the first stage is to submit a report analyzing the issues and giving recommendations, and then after that you get 4 teams shortlisted for the essay final, and then you must present a presentation in front of the judges and an audience for 20 minutes, and then after that there's a Q&A for 10 minutes.
Yeah. That's quite a tough... you went to the University of Pretoria.
Of course, this is the kind of stuff that the University of Pretoria produces, you know, David. But coming back to Malcolm, I mean, this is a global competition, and there is the next leg, which is in Mumbai. Just give us a sense of, you know, how do you put it together? Where did it start in terms of the number of countries? How have you built the numbers? And how do you choose Mumbai, or does it rotate across the world and so on?
Okay. First of all, yes, we do rotate it around the world. Last year it was here in South Africa. It first started in Singapore, then moved to Malaysia, China, etc. And what happens is that it's usually 24, as it was in South Africa last year, 24 teams from each country come to a central point. And they represent the same case study as they presented to us, perhaps with a little bit more extra coaching from a local guru, probably. And from that, 6 teams go to a final playoff. And in that instance, what happens is that they are told at 8 o'clock in the morning that they're into the final, and they have by 3:30 in the afternoon come up with a different presentation based on a new scenario on the same subject.
And how do you choose the case studies? I mean, what is it that you follow in the world of finance and economics that helps you decide that this is the problem that these great minds should be focusing on?
Well, like I say, we do a lot of research in the marketplace about what's happening in the global trends in business. I mean, we research our qualification quite extensively when we revise it, which has been every 5 years. Luckily now we're moving to a completely computer-based assessment, which means we can revise more frequently, because the business world is changing so fast. We can't wait 5 years to revise our syllabus. So we look at the trends out there and we pick something which is topical at the time.
Lisa Marie, working under pressure, time constraints, this horrible story of 8 o'clock you're given something and 6 hours later you've got to produce a new presentation. How did your team cope? What were the kinds of things you learnt working under this pressure?
Definitely dealing with stress, it helps you a lot going through this experience, and time management. We had actually a test week in the middle of this. So
you've got to carry on with your normal work
yes,
while you're doing this.
Yes, definitely. And this learns you, or teaches you, to do more effective time management in your life.
Is there a particular lesson you've learnt about time management or about managing stress? Presumably you were the team leader.
Yes.
There must have been times when you had to deal with people in your team who were saying, I'm not going to do this anymore, or people shouting and screaming at each other because they're frustrated? No?
Not really. We are
obviously this university.
She is the epitome of confidence and
Cool,
stressless,
under
cool
stress,
and
yeah.
calm and collected. That's the kind of stuff that you and I should learn, David. But what really interests me is how you've gotten sort of the peripheral universities that aren't always focused on into the frame. I mean, we've got the University of Venda, the University of Zululand. Talk to us about the thinking behind ensuring that you have a very inclusive approach across universities in South Africa.
Well, I think all credit due to the local office. I may be the global president, but I actually am from South Africa. So I must give credit to the local office. I wasn't involved in that process, but when I saw what they were doing, they were actually going out on roadshows into the nether regions of Africa. And it happens in other countries in Africa as well. So yeah, all credit to them. It was an initiative they took on, and I think it is a huge country. Let's face it. And to get those smaller universities, to give them the opportunity was really something very terrific that the local office did.
Of course, the other aspect of it is the kinds of accounting that we talk about. So as management accounting, you talked about the rearview mirror and the windscreen and what's around the corner. Sounds like they need a GPS,
Yes,
just to
yes.
see what's around the corner. But from your perspective as a student, you've discovered different kinds of accounting. So how important has this been in focusing your mind on what kind of accounting you want to do?
It has really helped a lot because it helps you see the different routes you could take, and then you place yourself in, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? And then you can make the decision easier based on that.
Well, before we move on, let's just look forward and talk about some of the targets that you might have for the next round. You've seen a phenomenal growth in numbers in this particular round. What are your targets? How many more universities are you hoping to get on board? Can you put your finger on a number that you'd like to see come through in the next round of applications?
I'd like to say, how long is a piece of string? I think we're not going to stop. I mean, it's going to grow and grow and grow. The problem is the assessment side, because I have done initial assessments before. And I mean, this year we had to assess 84 paper-based and bring up to the final 4. So it's quite a task. So yeah, it's an endeavour out there that we want to grow. We want to have the US included. They're a bit frightened because the standard's a bit high, believe it or not. They have very narrow degrees, you must remember. Yeah. So they'd have to bring someone in from Princeton, where I studied, or Stanford or whatever. Yeah.